When we think about the digital world, we tend to picture it as something clean, almost weightless. But what if every single click, every stream, and every scroll came with a hidden environmental price tag? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the surprising footprint of our tech habits. I mean, really think about it. You stream your favorite shows, you scroll through social media, you click on links all day long. But have you ever paused to consider the actual environmental cost of all that? We like to imagine the internet is this invisible, clean space. But the reality? It's surprisingly different. Get a load of this number, 3.2%. That is the slice of all global greenhouse gas emissions that comes from what we call information and communications technologies. Yeah, that's our phones, our laptops, and the gigantic data centers that power our digital lives. It is a massive and mostly invisible footprint. So, that huge footprint naturally brings up a pretty big question about our own personal role in all of this. And it usually starts with a common assumption most of us make. We just kind of believe that if you're good with technology, you're probably more environmentally conscious when you use it. It just feels logical, right? If you're tech-savvy, you must be eco-savvy. But as we're about to find out, the research tells a totally different and way more fascinating story. And that's exactly what some new research set out to do. They decided to put our modern digital values on trial, so to speak. And what's really cool is where they chose to conduct this test, Denmark. It's pretty much the perfect laboratory. Why? Well, for one, almost everybody there is online. We're talking 98.5% internet use. And on top of that, the country is a world leader in environmentalism. So if there's a link between tech skills and green habits, you'd expect to find it there. Now, to really get what they discovered, we need to wrap our heads around this one key idea they used, the digital environmental habitus. I know, it sounds super academic, but it's actually pretty simple. It's all about how our ingrained offline environmental values, the stuff we do on autopilot, carry over, or maybe don't carry over, into our digital lives. Here's an easier way to think about it. It's like your brain's green autopilot. That part of you that just instinctively throws a bottle in the recycling bin or flips off a light switch when you leave a room. The big question is, does that same autopilot kick in when you're about to stream a movie in 4K versus standard definition? That's what this is all about. So going into this, the researchers had a pretty straightforward idea. They figured there'd be a direct line. If you have strong green values, you'll be aware of your digital impact. And that awareness, when you mix it with some tech skills, should lead to greener online behavior. Makes sense. It's logical. But it's not what they found. And this is where things get really interesting, because the study's findings all hinge on a crucial distinction. It turns out that not all green actions are the same. The researchers split green behaviors into two different buckets. In one bucket, you've got eco-centric actions. These are things you do only for the sake of the planet, like choosing to lower your video streaming quality to save energy. You don't get anything out of it directly. Then, in the other bucket, you have benefit-oriented actions. These are the win-wins. They're good for the planet, sure, but they also give you a nice personal perk, like saving a bunch of money by using your phone for another year instead of upgrading. This difference is the key to this whole puzzle. All right, keeping that distinction in mind, let's circle back and bust that tech-savvy myth once and for all. So let's ask the big question again. Does being a whiz with technology actually make you more environmentally friendly when you're online? Well, the study's answer wasn't a clean yes or no. As it turns out, it's complicated. Let's break down what they found. For those benefit-oriented actions, the win-win stuff, your digital skills absolutely make a difference. If you're tech-savvy, you're way more likely to repair a broken gadget or tweak its settings for better battery life because you know how and you get something out of it. The link there is clear as day. But, and this is the absolute kicker, when it comes to those purely selfless, eco-centric actions, being a tech expert alone does not mean you'll do the green thing. In fact, the study found it can even be negatively associated with it. Just because you have the skills to do something good for the planet doesn't mean you actually will, not if there's nothing in it for you. So if tech skills by themselves aren't the magic bullet, then what is? How do we actually unlock truly sustainable digital habits? The study actually points to a kind of secret ingredient, a special combination that makes our tech skills finally work for the planet. And here it is, the winning formula. It's not one or the other. It's the two together. You need the digital expertise, that's the how-to, but you have to combine it with environmental awareness, that's the why. The study found that it's the interaction between these two things that actually predicts those selfless, eco-centric actions. You need the skills, and you need the motivation that comes from really understanding your impact.
Okay, so what does this all mean for us, for policymakers, for the future of tech itself? Let's talk about how we can finally move from just being aware to taking real action.
This research has some pretty massive real-world implications. For starters, it tells policymakers that just teaching tech skills isn't enough. We have to bake sustainability right into digital literacy programs. For tech companies, maybe they could help by giving us eco-feedback, showing us the carbon footprint of our choices. And for all of us, the big takeaway is this. The goal isn't to use less technology, but to use the tech we have much more consciously. And all of that brings us to one final question, a question for you. We've talked about that autopilot for green values in your digital world. So now that you know the secret sauce is combining skills with awareness, what's your digital environmental habitus?